Let me ask you something. If I offered you two options right now, a guaranteed $5,000 built slowly with discipline, or a surprise $50,000 dropped into your account tomorrow, which one would truly change your life? Most people don't hesitate. They grab the $50,000. Bigger number, bigger impact, bigger excitement. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For most people, that $50,000 would be gone in 12 to 24 months. Upgraded car, better apartment, a few deserved rewards. And when the money disappears, the habits remain exactly the same. Now imagine something far less glamorous. You fight for your first $5,000. You cut expenses. You increase income. You delay gratification. You watch that account grow from $600 to $2,400 to $5,000. No fireworks, no applause. But something inside you changes. Fear disappears. Discipline forms. Confidence builds. Decisions improve. That first $5,000 doesn't just sit in your bank account. It rewires how you think about money. And that is why $5,000 can change your life more than $50,000 ever could. Let me start with something most people underestimate. $5,000 doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't impress your neighbors. It won't get you a luxury badge in the driveway. It's not the kind of number that makes headlines. But I'll tell you something that experience teaches quietly. The first $5,000 you build changes your life more than a sudden $50,000 ever could. For most households, $5,000 represents 2 or 3 months of basic living expenses. Rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, nothing fancy, just survival. And survival money does something extraordinary. It removes fear. When you remove fear, you change behavior. And when you change behavior, you change outcomes. When someone has no cushion, every small emergency becomes a crisis. The car needs a $900 repair. The medical bill shows up for $1,200. The air conditioner stops working in July. Without reserves, those moments trigger panic. Panic leads to the credit card. And credit cards charging 18%, 22%, sometimes 29% interest, quietly turn a $1,000 problem into a $1,500 burden that lingers for years. That's not just math, that's stress accumulating interest. Now imagine the same scenario with $5,000 sitting in a savings account. The same $1,200 problem shows up. It's inconvenient, yes, but it's not catastrophic. There's no scramble, no begging the bank, no juggling due dates. You write the check. You move on. The problem ends where it began. That's the difference between reacting and responding. And financially, that difference is everything. You see, money at this level isn't about growth. It's about stability. And stability is underrated because it's invisible. Nobody posts on social media about paying their electric bill without anxiety. But the emotional shift is enormous. When you're no longer worried about surviving the next 30 days, your brain has room to think about the next 5 years. Stress shrinks your time horizon. Security expands it. People often believe $50,000 will change their life because it's a large number, and it can if it's handled properly. But I've watched many people receive large sums before they've built financial habits. What happens? They upgrade their car, they upgrade their apartment, they upgrade their lifestyle, and within 12 to 24 months, the money is gone, but the higher monthly expenses remain. That's the trap. Large money amplifies behavior. Small money builds behavior. The first $5,000 isn't powerful because of what it buys, it's powerful because of what it stops. It stops late fees, it stops desperation, it stops taking the first job offer out of fear, it stops staying in a bad situation because you can't afford to leave. Financial freedom doesn't begin at $1 million. It begins at the moment you can say, I'm okay this month. There's another piece people don't talk about enough. When you build your first $5,000 intentionally, dollar by dollar, something shifts internally. You realize you can control your financial direction. It might take cutting expenses by $200 a month. It might mean picking up an extra $500 of income. It might require saying no to short-term pleasure. But once you see that account grow from $800 to $2,000 to $3,500 to $5,000, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can delay gratification. And delayed gratification is the foundation of every lasting fortune. The person who fights for their first $5,000 learns budgeting. They learn patience. They learn to separate wants from needs. They learn to question purchases. Those skills compound far more reliably than a windfall ever will. Think of it this way. If someone hands you $50,000 but you haven't built the discipline that comes with earning and protecting money, the money is temporary. If you build $5,000 through habit, the discipline is permanent. Money that arrives fast often leaves fast. Money that grows slowly tends to stay. Another subtle advantage of that first $5,000 is negotiating power. When you don't have savings, you accept whatever terms are offered from employers, lenders, landlords. When you have a cushion, you gain options. Options create leverage, and leverage improves decisions. The difference between being able to say, I'll think about it, and I have to take this now, is financial oxygen. $5,000 provides that oxygen. People chase high returns. They chase complex strategies. They chase the next investment tip. But before any of that matters, you need resilience. You need insulation from shocks. The financial world is unpredictable. Markets fluctuate. Jobs change. Expenses surprise you. Stability allows you to endure those fluctuations without being forced into bad timing decisions. Many investors don't lose money because they chose bad assets. They lose money because they were forced to sell at the wrong time due to cash shortages. Liquidity is underrated. It doesn't earn applause, but it prevents mistakes. The irony is that $5,000 doesn't make you rich, it makes you steady. And steady people make better long-term choices. They invest more rationally. They borrow less recklessly. They sleep better, and better sleep, I've found, is a highly underrated asset. If you remove the fear of the next bill, you remove the urgency to impress. You stop spending to signal success and start saving to secure it. That's why the first $5,000 changes your life more than $50,000 ever could. It transforms your financial foundation before it ever touches your lifestyle. And once fear is gone, opportunity begins. Now, once that initial cushion is built and the panic is removed, something more subtle begins to take shape. It's psychological. And psychology, more than spreadsheets, determines financial outcomes over decades. When someone suddenly comes into $50,000, especially before they've built the habits to manage money intentionally, the most common reaction isn't investment, it's elevation. A better car, a better apartment, a more expensive vacation, maybe a few generous gifts. None of those things are inherently wrong. But what often happens is this: expenses quietly expand to match the new standard. Human beings are remarkably adaptable. If you move into a larger home, within months it feels normal. If you upgrade your car, the excitement fades faster than the payment schedule. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. I prefer to think of it as a psychological ceiling effect. You don't rise permanently to the level of your money. You rise temporarily to the level of your habits. If your habits haven't changed, the money doesn't change you. It just amplifies who you already are. I've seen people earn their first substantial bonus or inheritance and treat it like a finish line. But money without discipline behaves like water poured into cupped hands. It slips through. What determines whether it stays isn't the size of the amount. It's the structure underneath. When you build your first $5,000 slowly, you rewire your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who spends what comes in. You start seeing yourself as someone who directs money with intention. That identity shift is worth far more than the balance itself. Money follows identity, not the other way around. If a person identifies as a disciplined saver, $50,000 becomes seed capital. If a person identifies as a consumer, $50,000 becomes inventory. The ceiling effect works like this. Most people rise financially to the level of their financial self-image, and then stop. If you believe you're bad with money, even a large sum won't override that belief. But if you prove to yourself that you can build $5,000 from nothing but discipline, your internal ceiling rises. Confidence earned through process is stronger than confidence borrowed from luck. There's also a hidden danger in sudden increases. Rapid financial growth without corresponding mental growth creates pressure. Friends notice, family notices. Expectations change. Spending often becomes social rather than strategic. You begin making decisions not from logic, but from identity signaling. But when growth is slow and deliberate, something different happens. Your income may increase gradually. Your savings grow steadily. Your knowledge expands. Your circle adjusts organically. The external world changes at the same pace as your internal capacity to handle it. That synchronization is powerful. Think about businesses. The companies that scale too quickly without systems often collapse under their own weight. Expenses outrun revenue. Culture deteriorates. Debt accumulates. On the other hand, businesses that scale methodically, strengthening systems at every stage, tend to endure. Personal finance works the same way. Systems matter more than spikes. If someone hands you $50,000, you have money. If you build $5,000 intentionally, you have a system, and systems are repeatable, systems are scalable, systems survive downturns. The person who builds $5,000 understands where every dollar goes. They understand fixed costs versus variable costs. They understand opportunity costs. That knowledge compounds. It becomes automatic. And automatic good behavior is what separates the financially secure from the financially stressed. You don't need motivation every month when discipline becomes routine. Another overlooked piece of this psychological shift is patience. When you save slowly, you experience waiting. You experience resisting impulses. You experience choosing long-term stability over short-term pleasure. That repetition strengthens self-control, and self-control is transferable. It influences investing, career decisions, business strategy, even relationships. Financial maturity is not about intelligence. It's about temperament. Large sums of money test temperament. Small, deliberate progress builds it. That's why the first $5,000 is transformative. It forces you to confront habits. It forces you to design structure. It forces you to define priorities. What would you do with an extra $5,000? Many people might think of a nice vacation, a new gadget, or a shopping spree. And hey, there's nothing wrong with treating yourself. But what if I told you that this $5,000 could be the key to unlocking a much bigger financial future? What if, instead of spending it, you could use it to make more money? Today, we're talking about the incredible power of financial leverage and how a relatively small amount of money can become a powerful tool for building wealth. Let's start with a simple idea. When most people think about $5,000, they see it as a consumption fund. It's money to be spent to buy things that, unfortunately, lose value over time. That new phone, it'll be outdated in a year. That designer bag, its value drops the moment you walk out of the store. This is the path of consumption, and while it brings temporary joy, it doesn't improve your long-term financial situation. But there's another path, the path of investment and leverage. On this path, you see that $5,000 not as a spending limit, but as a seed that, when planted correctly, can grow into a much larger tree of financial opportunity. This is the core concept of leverage, using what you have to control something much bigger. Think of it like a seesaw. A small person can lift a much heavier person if they sit further from the center. In finance, your $5,000 is that small person, and the seesaw is the tool of leverage. So, how does this work in the real world? Let's explore some practical ways you can use $5,000 as leverage. One of the most classic examples is real estate. Now, you're probably thinking, $5,000? I can't even buy a garage with that. And you're right, you can't buy a property outright, but you can use it as a down payment. For instance, certain loan programs, like FHA loans in the United States, allow for down payments as low as 3.5%. On a $140,000 property, that's just under $5,000. Suddenly, your small sum is controlling a massive asset. You're now a property owner. As the property appreciates in value over the years and your tenants' rent payments pay down the mortgage, you are building equity. Your initial $5,000 is working for you, growing in a way it never could if you had spent it on a vacation. UVA turned a small amount of cash into control over a significant asset that generates income and appreciates in value. That's the magic of leverage. Another powerful area to apply leverage is in starting a business or a side hustle. $5,000 might not be enough to open a big restaurant, but it's more than enough to launch many types of small businesses, especially in the digital age. You could start an e-commerce store using a platform like Shopify. Your initial investment would cover website setup, initial inventory, and some marketing. Let's say you find a product you can buy for $10 and sell for $30. Your $5,000 could buy you 500 units of inventory. If you sell all of them, you've turned $5,000 into $15,000. After deducting your initial cost, you've made a $10,000 profit. You can then reinvest that profit to buy more inventory, scale your advertising, and grow your business exponentially. You didn't just spend the money, you used it as capital to create a cash-generating machine. The same principle applies to service-based businesses. Are you skilled in graphic design, writing, or digital marketing? $5,000 can be used to build a professional website, purchase necessary software, run targeted ads to find your first clients, and build a portfolio. These initial clients lead to referrals, testimonials, and a growing reputation. Your $5,000 isn't just gone. It has been transformed into a brand, a client base, and a stream of income that could potentially replace your full-time job. You've leveraged a small amount of cash to build a personal enterprise. Now, let's talk about the stock market. Some people might be tempted to just put the $5,000 into a safe stock and wait, but to truly use leverage, we can think a little differently. This isn't about risky day trading, but about strategic investment. For example, you could use that money to invest in options. Options trading allows you to control a large number of shares for a fraction of the cost of buying them outright. It's a higher risk, higher reward strategy and absolutely requires education before you dive in. But it's a clear example of financial leverage. A small premium gives you the right to buy or sell 100 shares of a stock. If the stock moves in your favor, the percentage return on your initial investment can be massive. However, a less risky and perhaps more powerful form of leverage in the market is knowledge. Use a portion of that $5,000 to invest in yourself. Buy books, take courses, attend seminars from financial experts you trust. The knowledge you gain about investing strategies, market analysis, and risk management is the ultimate form of leverage. It's an asset that no one can take from you, and it will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Armed with this knowledge, your remaining capital can be invested far more effectively. You're not just guessing, you're making informed decisions. You're leveraging your education to make your money work harder and smarter for you. Let's be clear, using leverage always involves risk. When you leverage up in real estate, you're responsible for the mortgage. If you can't find a tenant, you still have to pay. In business, your product might not sell. In the stock market, your options could expire worthless. This is why the mindset shift is so crucial. You are not gambling, you are taking calculated risks. The goal is to maximize your potential upside while managing your potential downside. This means doing your homework. Before you invest in a property, research the area, the rental market, and potential pitfalls. Before you launch a business, validate your idea, understand your target audience, and create a solid plan. Before you invest in the market, educate yourself thoroughly on the strategies you intend to use. Your $5,000 gives you a ticket to the game, but your knowledge and preparation are what will help you win. Think about the difference in mindset. The consumer sees $5,000 and asks, what can I buy with this? The investor sees $5,000 and asks, how can I multiply this? This question fundamentally changes your relationship with money. Money is no longer just a medium for exchange. It becomes a tool for creation. It's a resource to be deployed strategically to build the life you want. So, the next time you have a small windfall of cash, whether it's $5,000, $1,000, or even $500, pause for a moment. Resist the immediate urge to spend it. Instead, ask yourself that powerful question: how can I use this money to make more money? Maybe it's a down payment on a small rental property. Maybe it's the seed money for your dream business. Or maybe it's an investment in your own financial education. Whatever you choose, you'll be on the path of leverage. You'll be turning a small amount of money into a powerful engine for financial growth. And that is a reward far greater and more lasting than any shopping spree. You're not just buying something. You're building something. You're building your future. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this perspective helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content on building wealth and financial freedom. Let me know in the comments what you would do with $5,000 to leverage it. See you in the next video.